sovereignty. These both are very much interdependent and interrelevant concepts. If you could not able to understand the meaning of the state, there is no use of understanding the meaning of sovereignty. If you could not able to understand the meaning of sovereignty without understanding the meaning of the state, there is no use. Like you cannot not able to understand the legal jurisprudence or a constitutional law concept. If you want to study these two concepts in a very in-depth way, you should have to very much crystal clearly know about state and sovereignty. And today's video will going to be very much exclusive. You can't able to get this video in any of the YouTube channel or any of the one book. You need to read the book and analysis from various books. So today in this video, I'm going to convey you, or I'm going to make you kind of the this one, state and sovereignty, in a very crystal clear manner. So let's begin. I will first give you one analogy, and I will give you how historically the state being developed and what is the present meaning of the state. So state in the science, if you during the school you have solid state, liquid state. If you are a student of psychology, there is a meaning of state like emotional intelligence. If you read the Daniel Goleman book, then that state of mind. Okay. Now also I can say that sorry for the state of my marker. So I'm telling the feature of the marker over here. So I also use the state. In that, state means its present positions. That is also a state. So it has a various meaning in various dimension. And I will at the end I will tell you how to decipher the meaning mainly in the legal paradigm or a law paradigm. Okay, first I will give you an analogy. What is the meaning of the state? From the ancient time, there was no state. It is a Western concept actually. In the Western states, it originated. In the ancient time, there was no crystal clear boundary. If you take any kind of the empires and the kingdoms, there were like, if you take it as a as a one empire, and this as a B as an empire, and the C as a one more empire, and the D as a one more empire. And they did not have any kind of the crystal clear boundaries. One day A occupies as the B, and one more day B occupies as the C, and one more day C occupies as the D. The clashes were going on. If you see the history of Vijayanagara Empire and the Bahmani Sultans or a Mughal Empire in the southern states during the 16th and 17th centuries, these kind of the clashes happen. If you look at the European history also, there were Roman Empire, Assyrian Empire, lot of empire clashes for the supremacy. So there were no relevance of the state at that time. But what happened in the European region is that during the 16th to 17th century, there is a scientific revolution. You might have heard about the Galileo and the Kepler, and they talked about the rationalism because Kepler gave the theory of heliocentric view of the Earth. Before that, Christendom used to consider Earth as a flat territory, but he gave the concept of the Earth is not at the center, Sun is at the center. That is the heliocentric view. So scientific rational development, rationalism took the priority. It declined. What declined was the Christendom monopoly was declined. That was the end of this one, feudalism, and the slow gradual rise of the capitalism in the 17th century. We could able to see 18th and 19th century it get consolidated when we look at the history of capitalism. So there were no boundaries at the state. What happened was that when the Christendom or the Christendom power got declined, these kingdom, I will give you one analogy that whenever the technology get rise, economy also get doubled, economy also gets rises. And at that time, political stability or a political prosperity, peace and prosperity is much needed. So here what happened was that clashes were going in the European region. If you look at the history of Austria, Prussia, there were no German at that time. So UK, Britain, these were clashing for the supremacy. And at that time, point of the history, 1600, very many colonization takes place. For example, British entered India in 1600, Portuguese in 1498. At that time, when you look at that, the economy was growing. So when can economy grow much? When there must be a political stability. So what happened was that 1648, there were a treaty between the kings. That treaty is called as 1648. That treaty is called as Treaty of Westphalia. What is that Treaty of Westphalia? It is Westphalia is a village in the Germany from Berlin 300 to 350-kilometer northern direction. In that, all the kings came. There were many empires in the Europe. If you take this as a Europe, in that here is the German. Here many small empires were there. They all came together and made a Treaty of Westphalia. In that, they very well defined the boundary. As I told, historically we did not have a well defined boundary. So what happened? What is the major reason is that if there is a trade between these countries, if there is a well-defined boundary is there, so if there is any kind of the misunderstanding between them, they solve it diplomatically. At that time, the concept of citizenship, concept of the passport, before they used to give the letter, permission letter from crossing here to here. If you are a citizen of A, and there was no concept of citizenship. If A, in the historically, if A occupied the region of B, and here always the region is volatile region, there is no business, trade, so economic growth was very less. So 1648, every dynamics got changed in which the border is crystal clearly defined. If there is any kind of the mismatch or a misunderstanding, it could be resolved through this could be resolved through this one diplomatic manner. A, B, C, D. So all well-defined territory took place. So that comes the rise of the state. State means there must be a population. State means in the A, without population you cannot do anything. So there must be a population, must be that. Population must be that. Well-defined territory. Sorry for my state of handwriting. Territory, and the population must be there. Territory must be there, and there must be a sovereignty. Sovereign must be there. Sovereign means king. I will tell you the concept after this one. Sovereign must be there, and this is the major constitution of the state. This is how the concept of the state arrived after the Treaty of Westphalia in 1648. So this is how the meaning of the state we can be. I will tell you later part. Okay, I will come to the concept of sovereignty. Sovereignty means what? Sovereignty is that you who is called as a sovereign. In the ancient time, kings and the monarchs used to call as a sovereign. Sovereign is the one who can take the decisions independently. For example, here A is the king, A is the kingdom, A dash is the king, and A can take all the decision within the territory of A without any interference of the B. For example, 1947, before the time, we were not a sovereign country because Britishers used to take over all decisions. And after the Constitution, 1950s, we became a sovereign nation. So if you read the preamble, sovereign concept came. We are a sovereign nation because we can take the decisions by ourselves without any kind of the external influence. So when you read the geopolitical essays or geopolitical things, our sovereignty is being undermined in the United Nations or IMF. They are dominating us, our sovereignty under the threat. When you heard the word, means our capability to take the decisions being undermined. So when you know the state means what? Well-defined boundary is there, population is there, and there must be a sovereignty. Sovereignty means what? To take the decisions independently without any kind of the external force. This is the concept of sovereignty. Okay, this sovereignty also come after the concept of the state. First came the concept of state. Within the state, there is a rise of sovereignty. So who you call as a sovereign? Sovereign is the one who takes the decisions. For example, in India, president is the sovereign head. Okay. So present positions, where is the state? In the Article 12 of the Indian Constitution, if you go through the Article 12, here there is a meaning of who is, state means what? State authorities are who? So you might get the doubt, what is the difference between state and the government? I will explain it in a very simple layman term. Difference between the state and this one, government. For example, you take an educational institution, anything, Delhi Public School, Kendriya Vidyalaya, Satya Sai Institute, any institute you take, and in that educational institution, authorities get changed, means principal, teachers, everything. In the 50 to 60 years of the time, many principal came and go back, and many teachers comes and go back, but the educational institution is intact and entitled or intact, means educational institution is there. Na? This is what the state is. India is there. There is a BJP government, there is a Congress government changes, government dissolves, government comes, many prime minister, chief minister changes. So that is what the government is. That is what the state. State is as a permanent entity, I can say so. So concept of the state is this, and in the Article 12, what they defined is that they defined state authorities means who? Central government, state government, panchayat bodies. There are various definitions. Also, Supreme Court gave many judgment. Rajasthan Board, Electricity Board. There are many various cases. It expanded the horizons of the state. So, what is the scope of expanding the horizons of the state? For example, if your fundamental rights gets violated, you can directly approach to the Supreme Court or a High Court under the Article 226 and Article 32 of the Indian Constitution. Means a right to information act. You can put under the bodies, even not only the government bodies. If it is aided bodies, also you can put the RTI act under that. That is mainly because of that expanding the scope of the meaning of the state authorities. So I hope you, in these sessions, what we understand is that meaning of the state, how it historically originated, and the concept of sovereignty. Sovereignty means what? And the Article 12 of the Indian Constitution, how what is there in that. I'm not going to go in depth in that. When you read the legal jurisprudence, these two concept of the state, concept of the sovereignty, these two are important. That's why I just made a base for in this within a 10 minutes video. I do hope so. And if you have any kind of the doubts or a comment, you can make it in comment box. You can like, share, subscribe based on your discretion of conscience, since it is a non-monetized YouTube channel, and it is just for intellectual pleasure. If you have any other kind of the queries, discussion based on your intellectual capability, you can comment it in the discussion box. Thank you.